I've got some big updates in today's video. I'll get into it in a little bit, but it's very important because I feel like there are a lot of things in my life that I am moving on from. I started my YouTube channel in 2010 and have been creating content ever since. My early content was video game centric. I made mod reviews.
I'm going to show you how to mod Borderlands today.
And eventually my content changed into what it is now. And in 2019, I started with an idea to create a candy company. And in 2022, launched Sour Boys, which is now going very strong. I'm incredibly proud of that company. In the heat of some of the most difficult moments of my life, relatively speaking, I put hundreds of hours into video games during this time. Morrowind, RimWorld, Oblivion, Halo, stuff I just played to take my mind off the stress and worry and responsibility, etc. I also, during that time, began the process of creating my own game. Let's fast forward to December 2023, when I committed to actually making a video game. I don't have that much experience. I know how to code and do some random shit. He's got that fucking halberd. But alas, I am blinded by challenge, because now, November 19th, I am incredibly proud to announce Sour Boys Interactive. Not only am I announcing my game development studio, I'm also announcing our first game, Black Pine. Please go wishlist this game on Steam, and also while you're at it, play the demo. This is not a publisher relationship. This is no investor. It is just me, my own effort and money, combined with some people I was incredibly fortunate enough to meet who know way more about all this stuff and mentored me and helped me and have made this all a reality for me. Yeah, I'm announcing a video game. I never thought I would ever do that. I'm incredibly happy and just humbled massively to have actually made it this far. Genuinely, I deserve none of this. Oh, it's so unbelievable, and I'm crazy excited to finally explain this to you guys and talk about this. I've kept this a secret for a year. It's mind-boggling.
Oh my god!
Ah! Oh wow, okay. That's pretty cool. This is insane. This is really cool.
Yeah, I look like I pooped my diaper.
Dude, how about that, bro? Oh my god, that was cool. Seriously though, I am insanely grateful to be able to live the life that I do, and to have a quarter of what I have. I give up my right to bitch and moan about anything. Skip school, make candy, make game, make video. Yeah, life's good, man, life's good. But that being said, the last year of my life has been an absolute challenge. So everything being difficult aside, I'm not trying to garner sympathy. I'm not trying to be dramatic or anything along those lines. I had no idea that this would play out in the way that it has actually played out, and I'm ready to move on from a lot of things. So here is a documentary to help you understand how any of this was even possible. Pardon my French. Also, some information on my YouTube future. To be clear, I do hold YouTube as the top of my priority. And I recognize that through it, everything else that I've ever dreamt of is possible, and it's made possible by you guys. I love you guys. It's pretty simple. So here's a documentary. So since the scam, my perspective has changed on a lot of things.
Different possibilities, different routes to take and whatnot.
I often get myself in way over my head because I like to add more and more boulders.
When he told me he was gonna start a game studio was, what?
I'm at a very consequential point now where if this went bust, I'm
We're not experts on, like, we didn't know how to make candy. We don't know how to make video games.
It has been tough to not fully involve myself.
Now that we're coming to the very end, obviously the concern, which would be normal for anyone, is that are people gonna like it?
Sour Boys has been operating with a level of acceptable production since July of 2023. We currently have fulfilled about 10,000 orders a month average since last July. Overall, I know we've shipped out at least 300,000 bags of candy in a year. So since the scam, my perspective has changed on a lot of things. I am very involved with pretty much everything that I do. I often get myself in way over my head. But at the same time, if you just like take the risks and you keep going and you surround yourself with people who are like-minded, you don't give up, and then you'll figure it out. It is not easy. I'm not going to complain. The stakes are very high because I've employed a lot of people. There's just so much more to take control of and take responsibility for.
Yeah, the business side, it like mix. It's hard to separate, but he does a really good job of it. I'm never really worried about it. He's somehow can manage all the businesses he's made, where I'm like, I think you might want to pull back a little bit, but he's able to manage everything, and then I'm there whenever he needs me to help. But he is quite literally wearing all the hats and managing it very, very well.
It has been tough to not fully involve myself, but like I'm not packing candy anymore. I did. I'm not making the candy anymore. I did.
I direct a lot of the future of the company. I'm not as much of the like day-to-day. It's more like, what are we doing next quarter?
But still, the executive stuff I will be in charge of. So, no. I relate quite heavily to the mythological Greek hero Sisyphus, in that he rolled the boulder up a hill, and that is an analogy for life in general. I might one-up Sisyphus because I like to add more and more boulders to the hill. Candy's like really cool. I love candy, but at the same time, it's candy. I'm not super passionate about making candy. I'm passionate about making good that people love. Aside from that, probably my girlfriend. Need to spend more time on her, to be honest. We're chill. I think.
We were just kind of getting to know each other, and then the scam happened, and I hadn't seen him for a month or two at that time. Seeing him being able to manage that, he wasn't fazed. Like, he was mad, obviously, but just, I've never seen someone so level-headed in like a scenario like that. That's one of the things that attracted me most to him. After that, I was like, if this guy can handle this guy can handle literally anything.
The most difficult part is I have like people who like they pay for their houses with money that I'm like trying to help make, and then they're helping me. It's really complicated, but it's difficult.
I was worried about him bringing in a lot of people for this project and paying more people because, like I said, he has so many employees for his other companies. That's a lot of people to be responsible for, and it definitely takes a toll on him. He loves to be able to help these people provide for their families and everything, but there's a certain amount of stress that adds to that.
Why did I think that I had the time or the capital to start a new project? Well, let me tell you this. I don't have a lot of time in general. So in my mind, I'm like, all right, this is like crazy. I never thought that I would actually have a real company that makes anything. I never thought that I would have 5 million subscribers, and I never thought that I would be this busy. But also, I love video games. That's literally all it was. I've always wanted to make games. I mean, since I realized that human beings made games and they weren't just like items from the gods, like some kind of crazy symbol.
My initial thoughts when he told me he was gonna start a game studio was, what? I was like, are you sure? He was already like maxed out. I thought he was maxed out with the candy company, with the YouTube channels, with having, you know, like over 50 employees, and then he just threw in the game studio. But he loved the idea of it so much. I could see it was more of a passion and a love. Sour Boys is too, but that's more of a product, whereas this is like his baby.
Mostly the things that I risk are things that involve some kind of dream. It just depends on the reward, really. If it's like money, I don't give a feeling happy for 15 minutes after I drank a Dr. Pepper or whatever, I don't give a but like investing in people that I really want to spend a lot of time with and make something creative, and then at the end of that, I get to potentially see people playing that thing, the odds of that risk are kind of irrelevant.
Like, this is something he really cherishes and cares so much about. He is working on it when he wakes up and when he goes to bed. And he works on his YouTube stuff when he has to and the Sour Boy stuff, but he's really, really passionate about it, and it's really, really cool to see. I
have almost zero experience in the game development industry. I made a dual stick shooter based off a little tutorial on my Windows Vista computer. That was the closest I ever really got into actual game development, but I couldn't do art still. Like, that was discouraging, but As for general experience in game dev, I've made 2 dual stick shooters and mods for Minecraft. Lots of mods for Minecraft.
I feel like for a lot of it, I'm this guy that he goes to with like, should I start making this? Should we do this?
If I were to, let's say, be able to actually make a game, and I were to take my mindset that has been hammered into my brain for a very long time, I think it would help to steer something instead of a normal publisher. Generally with publishers, from what I've learned and from what pretty much everybody else already knows, instead of making things that are really fun, their marketing approach or their design approach, microtransaction approach, how do we hit profit, they kind of suck. I think that's what I care most about, is doing things that are fun. Very simple little things, but
I'm not super familiar in the making of games. I know it's extremely difficult. I know they take usually 2 to 5 to 10 years sometimes to make. And what he wanted to create with his favorite games being like Halo and Skyrim and all these really big games, I was like, I feel like you're shooting for the stars when we should maybe be shooting for the trees.
So the game started with an idea heavily inspired by my favorite video game series of all time, Halo. I also, at the time, was playing Tarkov a lot. I'm not a big Tarkov guy, to be honest, but there are aspects and elements of that game that I do love, and I'm very passionate about, and that is looting things, killing things competitively, certain levels of realism. They tickle different parts of my brain. And during the time in 2021 when I was living with my cousin at my parents' house, I was bored and I had a lot of time. I was like, hey, Clint, what if we made Tarkov in Appalachia and combined it with Halo?
And I'm like, absolutely.
It was a very realistic game where you have like realistic weapons. It's an apocalyptic scenario. Say the aliens invade. You're just regular people in Appalachia kind of fighting amongst each other to try and survive and finding loot. Imagine being a Tarkov type character trying to fight an elite from Halo. It just wouldn't work. It would not be possible. That's cool because you have to avoid them. You got like a Remington 700 bolt action rifle, like a hunting rifle, and like maybe an AR you might find.
Here lately, we'll just like get in a call. I'll play like Oblivion.
I'm a guard.
We'll brainstorm ideas and talk about like how certain systems will work.
At the time, I did reach out to Upworks. I talked to 3 or 4 guys and pitched them the idea, and they were all like, yeah, this is gonna cost millions of dollars. And I was like, yeah, I figured. I just want to know, like, how big of a team would we need? How should I temper my expectations? And literally everyone was like, this is not going to work out. You're not going to be able to make a game. Everyone. I talked to Vladimir Putin, not the president, but a guy named Vladimir Putin. And he was like, this take 2 years, $2 million. Team of 30 people. And he's like, I have a team of 30 people. You give me 2 million? And I was like, in 2 years, you can make this game? Clint was the main guy involved, and some random people on Upwork. Clint didn't get discouraged, but they did. They were very discouraging.
We just kind of chat about different possibilities, different routes to take and whatnot, and knock it out.
From the beginning of 2023 to the launch of Sour Boys, we work our asses off. Candy gets off the ground, and I am just kind of like, I don't know, like, what do I do now? Started thinking about the game idea again. My thumbnail guy, Duncan, so if you don't like my thumbnails, blame him. His dad has a lot of experience in games, and at a certain point, things kind of got okay, I felt like, and the game idea sort of evolved enough to where I felt comfortable with realistically approaching someone with the eventual goal to be like, how can I make a game? I can do the candy thing, and like, it's working. I definitely should have waited longer, but like, I mean, literally like days after it launched, I was like, let's make a game. And I was giving like speech, not really, it's, you know, just getting my boys riled up for the next big thing. And they're like busting their asses to keep the candy going. So they're just like, dude, shut the fuck up. So we called Peyton, Duncan's father. And this idea, let's just say, got some pushback.
The game was so big when they introduced it to me. I did try to talk them out of it. My name is Peyton Duncan. I am a partner founder with Sour Boys Interactive. My background is art, and I concentrate on art direction and creative predominantly. Ended up falling into games and have never looked back.
First idea for the game, very bold, very much just me inserting myself into Halo.
There was no possibility of this ever happening. It was easily a $20 or $30 million project, and you have to understand, I'm used to working with AAA titles, so.
Because it's like my perfect world game, but like that doesn't mean anything. I'm not Hideo Kojima. I don't know if anybody else would like that. That sounds awesome to me. I'm from Appalachia. I'm familiar. I have a Remington 700. What if aliens were real? That'd be fun. What do you think? You ready to invest?
When they told me about this idea that they had, it was absolutely too big for their group of people who'd never built a game before. The idea was very interesting to me, partially because of the location, partially because of how thought out and how crazy the backstory was.
And we have a great conversation, and he says that the idea has legs.
I think we had 4 to 8 conversations, and they were building Miro boards and all sorts of documentation, and then they would come back and present, and I would give them feedback. But every turn, I think I was trying to you guys, this is too big. Trying to be supportive at the same time, trying to keep them from going down this road.
That conversation essentially continued to evolve. Starfield was released. Technically, I guess, the day that I started dating Christina. Just total side note.
It just works.
And that really compelled me to be like, all right, I want to actually do this. So I started learning about game development, and eventually we landed on the fact that the scope of the game is too much. But there are aspects of the game from the lore that has been established that could be turned into another type of game that I love. And this is when in my mind, I'm like, dude, the candy is actually kind of doing well, and I can see a path. There's a future to it. And then my house flooded, and all my exploded, and nothing worked, and it was terrible for a little while. Gump Club shuts down, YouTube's going really well. I reached out to my audience, and I saw if maybe there were some game developers out there who watched my videos and who were interested in helping with something very small scale, just a small project. And this is when Peyton is like, still giving a bunch of advice. He's not involved, and we got so much good feedback. I'm incredibly grateful for those conversations. We put together a ragged team of volunteers.
So I was like, that's really cool, and he was really excited about that, but he also just pays them because that's who he is. He doesn't let anybody do anything for free.
The point at which I actually decided that this really had legs, it's when it dawned on me that Caleb and his friends had a much better understanding of the current market than all of the PhDs and marketing people I had been working with regularly for 20 years. I did have some concerns about Caleb trying to develop a video game, especially in regards to the fact that I knew he was actively involved in trying to develop a candy company. But what's interesting is through all of that, Caleb refused to quit. There's a lot to be said for that. And every conversation we had about video games sounded like that. He had a goal. He did not shy away from sharing what that goal was, and it was basically, I want to be Todd Howard. That's one of the first things I heard out of his mouth, and I was like, oh my God, he wants to be Todd Howard. That's like saying, I want to be Tony Stark.
Peyton starts to have a change a little bit. He's like, this is kind of insane that you were able to do this.
I started racking my brain trying to think of who I knew who had the experience that I could reach out to. One of the only people I thought about was Mike Daubert.
Worst clap ever. My name is Michael Daubert. I am the creative director and co-founder of Sour Boys Interactive. My experience with Peyton Duncan goes way back to the beginning. So we've both been in the industry for almost 30 years. I actually hired Peyton. Then as we grew in our careers, he became my art director. And Peyton laid me off. So
I think he resented me for a very long time after that. The funny thing is, I do remember him being in the interview where I was first hired into the gaming industry. And he was the one that grilled me the most in that interview. The questions he asked and the way that he asked them, he felt like the leader of that small group of CG artists. Mike was always a very passionate artist, and he had a lot of charisma. And that's something I never forgot.
Reached out to me on LinkedIn. We started talking a little bit, and he said, how much do you know about social media? And I'm like, nothing. My first introduction to Caleb was basically through Peyton. It was crazy because it wasn't just with Caleb, it was with Peyton's son. So they were both sitting on the Zoom call at the same time with us and then looking through the camera at us and going,
we want to make video games. How do we do that?
and we're like, are you serious? You really want to go down this road? I remember specifically hanging up, and then Peyton said, call me back, I want to see what you think. And just from the beginning, from that first meeting with Caleb, was the energy level, the drive that we saw out of him on the call. Also, the idea of where this could go was really compelling.
The best way to describe it is just, there's a word for it, and that is synchronicity, and just like the stars aligning, and just all these things kind of played into favor. And within a month, I'm bringing on this team. I'm gonna get them to make an MPOC.
The early development of this project was really Mike and I working together day and night in Roblox, of all things.
We were able to put a vertical slice almost together in one weekend to define kind of the prototype of what the gameplay could be, what the interaction with the players is going to be. But Roblox was also able to allow us to kind of get that feeling across very quickly to show Caleb what was possible with a small team that we had.
Oh no, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna lose. Is the big attacking the RV? Boys. Oh my god!
I don't think I've had that much fun in a long time. It was a great experience. First, it was shocking that it was Roblox, but it was just nice to partner with somebody like Mike, a talented artist, animator, but a developer, and we're both in the same engine at the exact same time.
That scared the out of me. I died. Oh, yo, that's a cool death. How about that, bro?
Wow. That was compelling and fun, and it did not look like Roblox. It actually looked pretty good. I was quite surprised after a few weeks.
I know the original team was like, that's dumb, because it's Roblox. And I was like, yeah, that's stupid as well. But we built a good, fun MPOC in like a couple weeks. And at that point, the candy's kind of doing better, and now I have a vision of the game. And Peyton's like, all right, I'm willing to do this. And Mike is like, I'm willing to do this as well.
Is this real? Because it seems like everything is lining up exactly the way it should, that says this is right.
It just made sense.
And the three of us founded a gaming company called Sour Boys Interactive, and we actually hired John from the original volunteer group.
My name is John Lee. I am an engineer in this team, and I'm the DI hire. I'm just gonna put that.
We didn't tell him to say that. The reason that I reached out to him to hire him, he's so passionate. He was working on his own little demo in Unity. This guy is awesome. We hired him. He was our first true employee, which is cool. That's really cool.
All of a sudden, my phone starts vibrating. I'm looking like, Oompa go text each other. Word? I just knew I was the GOAT after that.
He's kind of the GOAT. Let's be real.
With Phaser Lock, my old studio, we still had our connections there, and we had some very enthusiastic programmers, artists, designers that once we pitched it to them, again, it wasn't a hard sell.
Mike just happened to reach out to me saying, hey, we got a cool project and we want to get the band back together. Are you interested in this? And I thought it sounded perfect. It was an opportunity to get in, get my hands wet, work with people, understand them, create a good solid team. And work on something that everybody's passionate about.
Mike had mentioned the possibility of us working on another game, and he mentioned it was a horror game. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I popped up Photoshop and I was like, I'm gonna start doing concept art for this thing. Just the idea of working on a horror game I thought really could be fun, just because I like that genre.
I mean, I've not worked on a game to where we're trying to elicit a psychological response in the way that we're trying to do with this project. You know, this has a lot of legs, and so do all of our creatures.
Oh, there's Bigfoot there. What's this look like, fellas? Come over here.
I can actually say, since I've started this project with Peyton and Caleb, there's never once have I said I'm gonna throw the towel in. My wife has sat down with me and said, like, how are things going with this? Because she's actually said she has not seen me this happy doing my job in a long time. Here I got to come back over, starting a studio fresh, being in on the creative side. Every morning I get up, I get excited to go to work. There's always something going on, there's always a new challenge, but it's not stale.
Clint, what do you think about this? This is insane.
So my first impressions of Caleb was I was given an assignment. They said, hey, there's this guy Caleb, basically look at every photo of him online, because what we want you to do is do some concepts of him wearing different outfits. I Googled Oompraville, right? And then I saw all these photos of you, and I was like, this isn't the guy that's funding this project. I was like, no way. I was like, this guy?
When I first learned about what this project was, I was really excited. And the theme of it is really cool. I'm a big fan of cryptids, especially the...
Your name in the server is...
Yes.
Or your name on Discord.
Yes.
The idea of where this can go and who we're working with right now is exciting, but I seriously, every morning I get up, I get excited to go to work. But then again, I've been in the industry 30 years and I feel like I'm just getting in the industry for the first time. And that's just not, that's true, Caleb. That is, I seriously, Caleb, it's.
I feel the same. I've never been more inspired by anything my whole life.
I get up, I'm like, I'm going to work today. I'm gonna work on a that's mouth opens up and it rips people apart. And
I found all these photos of you and I was like, he's wearing a diaper, for crying out loud.
Was the diaper on his head?
Thankfully, no, not in that shot. Not in that shot. It was
I saw a different one.
It was appropriately placed.
Okay, that's right.
This is incredible.
It's so seldom that you can see somebody wear 2 diapers at once.
And the Phaserlock team, that was our first kind of big step, because I paid that existing team to do the MPOC.
I thought of Roblox as just a game. So when they came to us to make a game in Roblox, I was like, but is that a thing?
It was so cool working with them, and I was involved a little bit. I was like helping with lore and sort of putting my ideas across and honing in this little more achievable idea, but still with a massive amount of potential and longevity, I feel like. This is insane. This is my game. Weird. This is really weird.
Caleb was like the just overarching lore as a whole, and I was building out the lore for how has humanity kind of evolved a little bit to get where they are. The deeper things in the game, you kind of have to go out of your way to look into, I feel like.
Explaining that to them, they all got it and they all immediately meshed with the idea. And like, these are all dudes who have a lot of experience in the world.
So I looked it up and I learned about it and I was blown away. So for me, with the prospect of making an MPOC in Roblox, it was like, yeah, that's the way to do it. I've been a programmer for approaching 30 years now. I started in game development in 2000 at Acclaim Entertainment. Everything from mobile, PC, Mac, consoles, you name it.
So I immediately bonded with the Phaserlock team. A lot of those guys we picked up because they had such great track records and I was already very familiar with them. Such good dudes. When we first started working with the actual team after the MPOC, the concept evolved and then it got trimmed down and trimmed down and trimmed down into like multiple other games that I want to eventually make into something that's still very much the same vibe, very much the same things that I love, but in a much smaller form that has the potential to be episodic.
It was an undertaking to kind of absorb of how far we wanted to take this.
It's like not just my idea anymore. It's just like this thing, this living, organically growing thing.
We were able to move very quickly with a small team because we don't have a large approval process. We don't have to run things through a whole chain of command in there.
And as teams become 300 and 400 strong, and the percentage of people in the game industry working on teams that large that actually know how to make a game is very small. Even John, with as little experience as he has made a few games all by himself.
I cooked up a small demo about what the game potential, like a game mechanic could look like. And then I was like, let me just throw this out into the group chat, see what people think. Peyton saw it, and I think he thought it was pretty neat. And at the end of the day, all I feel is very lucky and grateful.
Sorry to interrupt for a second, but I think it's important that I really make clear my involvement in this studio. I'm not just jokingly saying that I'm Todd Howard. I'm not actually pretending to be Todd Howard, but I am a little bit. I am actually making a game aside from this team. I would hold back the team if I'm spending every single day programming, actually in the trenches, in design, with tech, with art, whatever. I would hold them back, but I have absolutely fallen in love with game development. I have a great history with computers, technology, understand some level of programming. I have knowledge in that, but this is something that I'm not taking lightly. I'm not just attaching my name to it and throwing a bunch of money at it. I'm hiring people I genuinely believe in. I have love for this, genuinely. As you can see by our next game we're launching called Morrowind 2, made solely by me. Wow! Look at this game, it's so good. I'm an actual real life, actual real developer, legitimately real, I promise. All right, guys, check out my sweet game that I made. Look at this. It's pretty cool. I've got props instantiated on the back and hip. And then check this out. They instantiate in the hands. Ooh, wow, that's pretty cool. And watch this. Boom. How about that? That's an animation, a real life animation. Animation finite state machine guy with various animations, various runs. Check this out. This is an animation for when the character is armed. And then there's a different animation for when the character's not armed. And then a jump. And then a crouch. And then a fast crouch. Oh! Wow. Wishlist my game on Steam. Not this one, the other one. The one that I actually, I just started using Unity in September, okay? Give me a break. I did make this though. Ignore the weird blocking animation, but check out the guy's head, see it? You know what inverse kinematics are? Because I don't. Jokes aside, I love this. This is my favorite thing I've ever done, and I'm so excited to be able to show you guys. Expect to see so much more of this. I cannot explain and articulate how excited I've made this little guy over months. The point is, I love this, and I'm doing my absolute best, and I hope that you guys can tell through the game. Play the demo, go wishlist it, and enjoy the rest of the documentary, and try not to hate me too much. I mean, I know I'm unlikable. I apologize. I'm sorry.
I am now the executive director of a video game studio, which is just insane. Like, that's unbelievable because I have no experience running a video game studio at all.
Moving into Unity, we had to start all over again. We knew what the systems we wanted, we knew what the art is, but nothing transferred over. We had to kind of start from scratch. There was a little bit of hesitancy moving over because we could do it so quickly in Roblox.
This is the third week of development. And this is Roblox.
But the quality wasn't where we wanted it to be.
Really, just how quickly can we get to fun? That's like the initial goal. And to even start, you need to build out your systems, you need to get all your components ready to go. You need to determine how you're going to be building the game, what type of inventory system, how you're gonna handle the inventory, the back end. Like, there's so much.
It could be little stuff, just like how does your health system work or something like that. There's so many different ways. Which one do you pick? Does your health regenerate? Is there like health packs or something? There's so many different ways that games decide to do stuff.
It takes a lot to build a game.
Whoa, what the hell am I? Holy, I'm a prostitute.
You didn't know what you were?
I didn't know that I looked like this.
And you were making fun of me.
You know, as we were moving into Unity and things were starting to move forward, we did find out that Sean would be leaving in October.
You mean our tech director, whose two sons are our other tech team members, like our entire programming tech team? And I immediately started to freak out a little bit because I was like, that's really bad. We don't have programmers now.
We are on our way out here shortly. That means I'm not going to be working in the day-to-day. Myself and my boys are going to go out there and see what we can make and what can happen.
Sean came through and said, hey, I'm going to see you guys through to a certain point here, but his stars were starting to align. That was the right time to venture off and try something new.
I just want to be able to slow down and just, take my time, maybe get a horse again, enjoy life a bit more, do some more fishing. But I'm never going to stop. I mean, you can't ask for more. Your boys are right there with you working every day.
That was a pretty big hit. Like, we were on the newest form of Unity, which meant that we were gonna have a lot more bugs than if we went back to the standard Unity.
I remember sitting there for like 8 hours and like several days actually, just pure work weeks, writing maybe 2 or 3 lines of code and just being confused how this is supposed to work or why it doesn't work.
So we decided, once we had that we needed to drop back.
And you're in the middle of getting to your vertical slice and you lose programmers who are building your major systems, that's a blow.
But then they explained that it's not a big deal. It's he's committed to seeing the game to release. He believes in it. He loves it. He is just ready to move on.
Sean, he is a genius. I know we're gonna miss him a lot. His blood is in the game.
Jack can literally do anything. I mean, he made our power washer in like a week. One of the first playtests I saw, I was like, that's so cool. Who made that? It's just very impressive. So seeing them leave presents a massive challenge.
He's family, and he sees where we are. He understands our challenges there, and he's agreed to stay on and help us even support us after.
You know, at this point I realize in 10 years, who's gonna still be here? And the Sean bombshell was like a huge, massive realization. So put out the bat signal, and we got a couple guys immediately.
Yeah, I think for me, it was really excited to get to work on a horror game. Some of the guys on the team, I knew them. We worked really well together in the past. They just really hyped it up to me, and I was pretty pumped to jump on board and get rolling.
When Sean leaves, Matt is most likely going to take the mantle of tech director and fill those shoes, because Matt is incredibly talented. And actually, I've relied on him a lot off the clock for just learning game development. Do you play Roblox?
Occasionally, I play with my daughter. We play a bunch of obbies and what's this other one? This like daycare one where she always wants to be the daycare and I'm a baby.
When I became the executive producer of an actual game studio with Jedi working for me somehow, I researched everything I possibly could about all these game studios, how they're ran. The Valve way to run things, totally different than the John Carmack way to run things, totally different than the Todd Howard way to run things. And to me, the Todd Howard way of running things sort of makes the most sense, and that is to just look cool, lie, and be confident. And that's what I do. I'm really good at all that. When I first started doing this, I was like, you know what's really funny? One of the first things I told Peyton when I first talked to him is that I wanted to be Todd Howard. And I'm not sure if he knew it was a joke, but it was a joke.
I don't give Todd Howard a second thought. And as soon as he mentioned Todd Howard, I knew who Todd Howard was, but it was just like, oh, good God. Yes, I just don't think about Todd Howard as often as Caleb does.
Because I don't want to be Todd Howard. I don't want to tell sweet little lies all the time. But anyways.
Todd Howard is legacy. I know Caleb has a fascination. Not so much myself, but I get it. I get it. You know, we have to have our goals and aspirations that we want to shoot for. So
obviously the proof is in the pudding. His products are amazing. I'm down with him.
If you could have just heard him the other day.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get emotional.
Is he here?
I do believe in him still.
That's awesome. When I was 15 years old, I watched the documentary a long time ago where the making of Morrowind with Todd Howard and his team in Bethesda, Maryland. I sent an email. I sent a lot of emails. I spammed them to give me a job, and they never responded a single time. My email address was... So it's like, that's not a good email address. I didn't know what the I was doing, but I was like, listen, I can lift 50 pounds above my head. I'll work in a data center. I'll fix your computers. I'll do anything. I'm desperate. Todd Howard, iconic hero of mine. Genuinely. The very early stages of development when we popped into Unity were standing up the systems that we put in the MPOC and Roblox in Unity. So like our co-op networking solutions.
I think the networking has been a big one. Really understanding that network architecture and making sure the timing of everything is right because it's got to go over the network, and that's probably been our most challenging area, I think.
Documentation, sort of setting the rails for what the game is supposed to be. A lot of art, concept art, figuring out what our environments are going to look like.
Because I think with horror, a lot of it comes from how do they light this? How are they lighting this environment? How do they make it look a certain way? How are they lighting their creatures? Watching horror films and seeing how they handle that as well.
Figuring out what's going to be in the game. Sort of tightening down lore a little bit. That's kind of been more recent.
I think the most exciting thing for me is probably the cryptids. Terrifying looking beasts that are nothing that I would have expected.
What helps me 50% of the time is the monster that I get, right? That automatically starts just giving me all kinds of ideas, because there is such a creative drive behind the creature design that we're doing for these things. I get to define a lot of it, when I go into it, because I'm painting the picture of the character's personality.
I think it is like a really unique and fresh take on the way narrative has been delivered in the past.
Oh, there's blood here. Oh, this is good. I like this. This is so impressive, by the way, fellas. This is really good.
And I am really looking forward to seeing what the feedback and reaction is to the way that we present that.
Caleb actually was basically educating us on our lore, on the cryptids, on different types of creatures that he wanted to bring in, mostly on the direction of how we were going to drive the player into the horror side of the game, but also bring in this storyline that we want to tell as well.
The narrative and lore? You mean like a backstory? I don't know what you're talking about.
The biggest problem, aside from Sean, for me, is the financial strain of these things, because like it all precipitates from my YouTube channel. It all starts there. My YouTube channel is the #1 thing that I do, and in the game now is the baby suckling at the teat, the money teat. I sold a percentage of my channel again. I've done that before, but to help fund this, and that's the biggest problem with all of this, is I do not want to deal with any sort of outside money from the project. I want this to be something that we can set a new precedent and just like do things differently. I don't want to have anyone mad at my company and my games the way that I am mad at basically every single game and company that has ever existed, and the way that they interact with their community and all this stuff. And I know I'm setting like some pretty high expectations by even mentioning this stuff, but like I'm at a very consequential point now where if this went bust, I'm
Game development is always a learning process. Just when you think you know what you're doing, someone's going to throw something at you in a new direction, and it's going to challenge those old thoughts and make you kind of think in a different way.
We're trying to do a lot with a small team. Everybody's wearing a lot of different hats. Obviously, time, resources, those are always going to be big concerns.
We were trying to do something auspicious in like 9 months, and I'm pretty sure nobody on this team has worked under such a short schedule. My main focus was to determine, okay, what's our scope, and then how am I going to keep everybody on board with that scope, because it's a very short timeline to get something out.
We have pretty much been heads down, just churning out build after build, not trying to overextend, but hitting the development and getting it done.
The biggest struggle that we have right now, we need to create a lot of content, and we need to create it fast. We just don't have the design staff to pull that off. They're very capable minds, but the reality is you just need more.
So in terms of my confidence on us being able to actually achieve this schedule, I'm a bit conflicted. At its face value, 0% confident that it would actually be able to happen. Another concern for me is like making sure the guys don't get burned out. I'll push back against the directors if I need to. I haven't needed to, but if I see them like, you got to get this done, you got to work however long it takes, that's where your job, that kind of corpo bullshit that a lot of us have dealt with, I don't stand for it. So,
but we've also not like been wearing anybody out either. So I feel like we've done a good job of, hey, let's go take a break.
In terms of morale and trying to keep people from getting burned out, I sort of turn into Mama Corey. I want the game industry to be a place where developers are not taken advantage of because of their passion, and I want you to spend time with your family. I want you to go out and exercise and enjoy your environment. We have to find this balance where we get what we need done on time without destroying people's lives.
I'm not going to release an unfinished product that I'm not happy with. There's definitely going to be issues. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect in any way, but those things have to be like features. It's got to be fun, and maybe there's going to be a level of chaos.
We just had a playthrough 2 weeks ago, and I haven't had that much fun playing one of my own games in years. Things were happening that were very unexpected even for us. No, right now I don't think I have as many concerns as I had a month ago.
And to be fair, over the last 3 weeks, we've made an immense amount of progress. It has been unrecognizable. The stuff we have to do now is mainly design, hopping in the engine and making. our systems are set up, our bugs are being squashed. Everything is kind of there. People are making good money working for this company, and they're putting their effort in. Like, this is a legitimate, absolute thing. I'm not asking for favors. I'm not trying to take shortcuts. I'm trying to do a lightning in a bottle type thing. That's the most difficult part.
Making games is, as much as it is fun, there is a lot of stress, especially when you're worried about keeping everybody on track, you're worried about keeping everybody informed. All of that leads into, having a level of unknown. And you sort of miss out when you're working remotely. You miss out on the coffee talk between, your desk and the water cooler and getting to know each other as people. That, I think, has added to the stress more than anything else because you become more product-centric.
I'm confident that the project will succeed because it is being made from passion and not with money in mind and not with some kind of legacy or clout or anything like that. I literally just want to make a game that I can play with my friends.
Mike and I were the ones who were putting it together at one point, and we had been working independently of everybody else. And we just threw a monster in there for the first time that was just somebody else's monster, and we just threw it in there just so we had a creature that would be running around after us. And this thing literally chased us into our RV, so Mike became the bottleneck, and I was getting killed. It was so funny and unexpected and scary all at the same time that I knew if we could translate that into our game, that it would be successful.
When you start up your game and you get in there and you see it come to life, and it's just like, yes, that's it. That's what I was going for, especially when you're laughing and having fun and, oh, it just killed me. Oh my God, that was great. You want to do it the next day. You want to do it forever. I don't know that I'll ever quit, even when I'm very retired.
To be able to justify taking anybody's money and figuring out how to find that balance within my budget without having to go outside of that and being able to maintain all this stuff is a f***ing challenge. A massive, massive challenge. But at the same time, we just hit vertical slice and it's September. And I budgeted to October. That's a month from now. A lot of people talk about imposter syndrome on YouTube. They're like, why am I here? Why am I so lucky and stuff? I definitely feel that. I definitely feel like I don't deserve any of the things that I have or do or whatever. There's no reason that I'm allowed to work every day around people that I love and do shit that's just fun all the time. But it's not like I'm not working my ass off.
Normally I think a partner probably wouldn't be as thrilled with somebody working as much as he does, but I am. I'm super happy for him. So I'm just you put your nose to the grindstone, and I'll be here when you're out, and I'll be your biggest supporter. So it's almost taking a step back, which maybe doesn't sound as good of a partner, but for him and his personality, I think that's what's been best for him. I don't think people understand. He's working as soon as he wakes up and as soon as he goes to sleep, all the time. So I tell him every day. I think I text him or I tell him this is what you're doing is amazing. This is great. Nobody does this. It's not.
With the game thing though, it's if I can't do this and feel like I am responsible for it, then I'm not even gonna try to do it. And I am in the midst of becoming valuable from a development perspective. Combat mode. He's got a fucking halberd. I've spent the last 4 or 5 days pretty much just learning Unity and getting back into it. All right, I'm a little fucking rusty. I'm a YouTuber. If the game is bad, it's not gonna be my fault. Just kidding, it will definitely be my fault. I've been learning Unity, and I've been actually trying to build up my own stuff. I have a little solo project that I'm working on.
Caleb's learned Unity, and so this was something. Wasn't just hey, I'm gonna go take the next 4 months to learn Unity. It was in a weekend. Then all of a sudden, the following Monday, he goes, hey guys, let me show you what I made. And we're like, okay, let's see what he made. And I'm like, okay, that's actually pretty good. And he's doing everything from the programming, animating, audio. The guy's got talent. There's no doubt about that. He's not just a pretty face.
It's pretty incredible that I've been able to do this. Because 2 months ago, I would be there's no way. I don't know how I would even start. But there's a lot of YouTube tutorials, and when you have a Jedi you can ask questions to, you can learn. I want to be able to contribute to the design. I want to be able to put my slot machine that I've made in the game. I made a slot machine. Yeah, I don't know. I just work. And like the YouTube thing, I feel like a YouTuber now. Used to not. Kind of feel like a candy guy now. Do I feel like a executive director of a video game studio? No. But am I? I think so.
I am extremely hopeful for the future of Sour Boys Interactive. The personalities, the product itself that we're making, the studio feel, it's a lot more intimate than the game industry as a whole.
I think the odds are good.
Well, yeah, and in my mind, we are in a perfect storm right now. It's not just Caleb. Caleb has a studio. He is pulling all of this together that's going to push what we're doing into the next level, and it's got a lot of potential.
On the studio side, I would love the studio to grow to something even bigger than we could even imagine.
It's, for me, one of the first times ever that a whole company is solely devoted on one thing and everybody's 100% all in on it.
This sort of small indie development sort of thing is extremely rewarding. You know, we talk about what we want to leave behind, and our hopes are that not only can we build a studio that all of these guys can enjoy their careers and the careers that we've had, and that Caleb can realize his dream of being Todd Howard. How do we help other indie developers?
Or maybe they're looking for the support or knowledge or experience they may be lacking. Us being able to help smaller studios reach to the achievements that we're getting to would be awesome. Being able to build that whole community of other gamers and other developers side.
There are so many talented game developers out there, single individuals that have small products that they're developing that will never see the light of day without somebody helping them through that. I think it would be huge if we could be those people.
Are you proud?
Am I proud? Pride is definitely not an inherent trait that I have. I think that I have to work at it. I would say very proud of the candy because of how many other people are involved. I'm more so proud of them and being a part of it. And the game thing, I feel like this is probably the most proud of anything that I've ever been. I am literally learning so much. I'm not pretending to be involved.
And I'm very rusty on my programming knowledge, okay? Extremely rusty.
I'm not doing the bare minimum. I'm not just being like, this is just some thing, another thing I'm throwing money at so I can make a bunch of money. Like, this is literally I've used the word passion a lot, but it is genuinely that. As for launch, the main thing we have planned is to just listen to feedback and kind of stand up a community, building out a Discord server or something to where we can play and interact with the people who are playing the game and really just get to know what people want.
This gameplay that we've had recently and where we played for multiple hours, we got a great experience. And what's even funnier is after that, I was working in the game one night very late. There was nobody else around, there was nobody in there, and I was walking around in the environment, and it's creepy. I know what's out there because I put it there, but I'm just trying to look at assets and textures, and now I've got this massive creature running around trying to kill me, and I can't hardly see him. I think it's going to go over very well.
For some reason, the people who watch my videos are all pretty cool, and they're fairly like-minded, and if they like this game, it's gonna be really easy to figure out what's liked and what's not. And it's gonna be fun, and it's gonna be a great community. And I think the team is gonna be really blown away by the support that they're going to get from my audience. We don't have any planned DLC, we have no content planned. We are going to be making regular updates and adding to the game as frequently as we possibly can. But yeah, it's like, is the response good? Do we hire more people? What teams do we need now? How do we expand in the ways that we need to expand? That question will be answered when we launch. But the main thing is making sure people enjoy the game.
Now that we're coming to the very end, obviously the concern, which would be normal for anyone, is that are people gonna like it? So I kind of have to be the person to say, like, you've worked your ass off on this. People are gonna understand, like, this is your first game and you've done all of these amazing things that nobody else has done, really. Like, from a YouTuber just to be having a game studio immediately.
Coming from a person who wanted to build games, if I had to give some advice to people who were like, they want to make games with us, they like the idea, I would say just make your own game. Unity is free. If you have a computer, you can make a game and you can get some friends who have different abilities. And if you have a couple years of time, you can legitimately make a game in your free time and then release it to the world. My biggest regret now over the last year has become that I didn't just start making games when I was 15 years old and had all the time in the world and was making mods for Minecraft. I could have made some kind of 2D RimWorld style game or something like back then, but I just didn't.
This was all recorded at the beginning of October, and things looked drastically different then than they do now. All right, it's been a month and a half. That is a long time in game dev, but also not a long time at all, because I am the publisher, I am the source of money, and also I am part of the daily team. In the beginning, we expected to have more by this time, but all of that aside, I am incredibly proud of the demo that we have available for you guys. And if you want to see more, if you want to buy the full game when it eventually releases, which it should very soon, I'm not going to give any exact dates because we're not going to release something we're not happy with. Wishlist it, please, for the love of God and all things holy. It's 12:59.
Oh, let me watch the screen.
Do I hit it? Okay.
I got a button for you, Caleb. Here it is.
All right, I'm gonna hit it right now. Release my app. Oh. Anyways, thank you for watching, and go wishlist Black Pine on Steam, and please give us all the feedback you possibly can. Don't pull punches. I want the brunt of it. All right. You ain't gonna get me down. I'm stoked.
The longevity of the studio is probably the part that is the most clouded, but I can see what I would like to see in the future, which is all of us still, being able to work in the game and making vast expansions for, the project that we're already working on.
The studio is more important at this point to me by far than the game itself, because games will come, games will go. Some people aren't going to like the game just because of the style, whatever. Mike and Peyton and I want the studio to be the thing that people are able to relate to the most. The game is there, people are going to be entertained or not, but are we going to get 15-year-old kids sending emails begging for jobs like I was doing? Are we going to be able to inspire some passion in people for this thing that we're trying to do a different way? Because if so, I don't give a if the game sells well, because that's cool. That's how I literally become Todd Howard.
That scared the out of me.
What you're doing is amazing. Nobody does this.
I want to be Todd Howard. And I'm like, absolutely.
He's wearing a diaper for crying out loud.
The proof is in the pudding.
Peyton laid me off.
I just knew I was the GOAT after that.
Mama Corey.
Getting it done.
This has a lot of legs.